my badass friends. Today, I want to talk to you about living the unscripted life. When I started this series, maybe 2.5 years ago, the idea was to test my limits, to improve myself, to make myself a better, more confident and natural speaker by going without a script. So up until the point that I started this, all of my episodes had been written out in advance with a story arc and word-for-word details that I sometimes would feel comfortable opening up on, maybe driving off-road for a little bit. But for the most part, I knew what I wanted to say and had my words planned out for me. I had checked it for flow, checked it for logic, checked it for cliches, repetition, all the things that I didn't want to have in my speech, and I would hand groom it before ever turning the mics on and hitting record. Well, of course, over time, as one becomes busier, more ambitious, you find that you don't have as much time to spend on perfecting the script before you go in. Now, this is an agile thing. Rehearse, don't plan. So over time, I'm not getting more efficient if I'm not somehow tuning that process of preparation for the big day. Not to mention the fact, the other agile principle I really like is production and delivery as a non-event. We want to automate, delegate, or eliminate anything that makes production day into a big harangue, whether it's the fear of sitting in front of the microphone, or whether it's the complexity of editing, mixing, publishing, and promoting the episode itself. So all of these things around Unscripted come from my knowledge of Agile and Scrum and my desire to apply it to my personal and professional life. So the Unscripted experiment was basically asking the question, can I supercharge my development as a speaker by going completely without a net, leaning into my fear zone, and forcing myself to get better today? And the answer is it has improved my ability to speak many times over. And here's why. Number one, the practice. The more you do it, the better you get. We all know that. Our brains are programmed to work that way. The more we do something, the more we etch a certain pathway into that otherwise plastic system. But it's not just the rehearsal, because you can rehearse bad things and get predictably bad outcomes. The other aspect is my outcomes. A lot of people have abandoned the sprint goal. I disagree with that. I think that every time I sit down to do one of these unscripted episodes, I set in front of myself a note, a commandment, an objective to use less words, to speak more from the heart, and with less attention on the event, on how I sound, what people will think, what people will like versus not like, but to simply speak from an authentic place of caring for other people on their coaching journey, on their agile journey, on their leader development journey, to share, to help, to lead, to inspire. But I also have specific tactical objectives as well, to reduce mistakes, to reduce dead air time, to reduce filler words, to be able to speak and remain in complete control of my emotional and physical state, which dictates the authority in your voice, the certainty in your sound. Now, how do I do that? I sit there with a bunch of sticky notes. If you could see me right now, you'd see me in front of my microphone with all my stickies laid out in front of me. And here's how it went the first couple times. I would start speaking and I would never look at my notes. So I'd finish the session, look at the table and go, damn, why didn't I look at those? It was right here. Breathe, stay calm, move slowly. And yet I started going and I still hadn't learned to make production a non-event. So what did I do? I babbled and I went crazy and made all these mistakes. And I also pushed myself down logical traps where I went down this hallway where I'm like, what was I thinking? What was I about to say? Completely forgot where I was going, or completely forgot to check to see, did this make sense? So I ended up with this file that had to be edited 60 ways until Tuesday, mistakes all over the place, walking out of the session, forgetting to say what I really wanted and needed to say. But over time, I got better. Each time I vowed to improve one thing. So I didn't look at my sticky notes. Maybe there's too many. Pick one. Pick one and commit to seeing it and observing it at least once during the session. Next week, change the sticky or add a sticky. Build your habits, build your mindset one by one, like you're building a house. Foundations first. As you improve, add more. Well, wouldn't you know it, I started to get better. Think of all the things you have to balance to pull off a perfect TED Talk. You got to make sure you don't go over time. You got to make sure your pacing is right. You got to read the audience and see where maybe there's somewhere they want to go today. But you also have to remember to breathe, to keep your body and mind calm so that you're present for the audience you're speaking to. All of those things slowly got better over time, just by going without a net, on purpose, doing the opposite of what I normally and habitually do. So where could you be unscripted this week? It doesn't have to be a podcast or a YouTube video. It could be any area of your life where you're doing too much planning, too much overthinking, too much assuming the worst, but also too much autopilot. Think about how that simple practice of being unscripted could be applied to your team, your life, your barriers, your blockers, and your results. I'd love to hear what this does for you. You can reach out at badassagile.com, find me on Clubhouse at Fuse Chamber, or just search for Badass Agile. And you can find me on Instagram at Badass Agile. I look forward to next time, and until then, stay badass.